Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, and if you're new, you're really welcome. I'm Jane and my husband Mike is behind the camera. We're British, early retirees, debt and mortgage free, and living a thrifty, frugal and money saving life on a super tight budget here in Brittany in northwest France. And every Wednesday we open our home and invite you in and onto the sofa for a mid-week money chat. Let's take a look at what we're going to talk about today. Today's chat's all about Bygone Frugality. That is making a comeback. Now, you may be a subscriber to TikTok as well, and you'll see many younger people embracing things that we may have been doing for years and years, but for lots of them, this is new for them. And that's what we're going to be having a chat about today. And don't forget, if you enjoyed the video today, don't forget to hit that like button. If you're 40 or under, you will have lived through a whole period of time of good times, quite affluent times. You've had access to cheap, affordable food, cheap, affordable clothes. I'm not saying you've had cheap, affordable housing, but there's been housing. You've had access to credit to buy cars. You've been able to borrow money to go to college. You've been able to have your food delivered to your house. You've been able to afford to cool your house in the summer and to heat it in the winter. And all of a sudden comes along the cost of living crisis. And what a shock that has been to everybody. And like I said about what I call the TikTok generation, what we're seeing with younger people now, the people under 40, is they are embracing proper bygone frugality, and it's becoming increasingly popular. Let's get into it. There are people I know of my age, and definitely people I know of a younger age, who have lived a life where they haven't really had to worry about wasting. So unfortunately, they have been quite wasteful. They've had clothes they've not worn, books they've not read. They've gone through the fridge periodically and thrown things out because it's out of date, or it's gone off, or they've not used it, or they've come back from the supermarket with goods and then they've gone to the fridge and thrown out what's in there and put the new stuff in there. Well, what we're seeing now is a return to that bygone frugality. We're seeing people using the scrapers to scrape out everything out of the jar, aren't we? We're seeing people upend the ketchup bottles and the sauce bottles. We're seeing people rinsing things out, rinsing out the ketchup bottle, adding it to a pasta sauce, what we British people call spicy brown sauce. I think you might call it a meat sauce. Rinsing it out and adding it to a casserole. Those things that we have always unconsciously done all of our lives. That last bit of washing up liquid in the bottle, unscrewing the top and watering it down so you get the last bit out. The same with toothpaste, of cutting off the tube, cutting it open and getting it out. There's loads left in there every single time. The moisturiser in a tube, the hand cream in a tube, cutting it open, getting the last bits out, using a cotton bud to get the last bits of lipstick out and using it, or the last bits of makeup out. Those older people of us, we've done this forever and ever, haven't we? But it's really coming into vogue. Because we are seeing return to that old school, use it up, we're seeing people embracing things for the first time ever. Meal planning, batch cooking, freezing their leftovers, cooking for the freezer and using it up later, composting as if it's a new thing when people have been doing it for hundreds of years, using it up, use it up fashion. We're seeing people rejecting fast fashion and making the best of the clothes that they've got and not automatically going out and buying new ones. So there we are, we're seeing a real return to use it up. we're seeing a return to the popularity of wear it out. So people are not buying so much, they're making whatever they've got last as long as they possibly can. And it's not so much the trend that you have to replace everything, because it has been. It was the case, you moved into a house, it had a perfectly good kitchen, you ripped it out and put a new one in. There was a perfectly good carpet, you didn't get it cleaned, you ripped it out and you put new in, or you had it taken up completely and went back to the floorboards and rugs. There were so many things that people did for so long that were not about wearing it out. Now we know wear it out is so popular again because of the popularity of the second-hand market. So we do know people are doing this. People are using a vintage like it's, second-hand has just been invented, and I'm really pleased to hear that. Vinted is the first place that young parents go to look for things for their children, whether it's a buggy, a car seat, or toys, or items of furniture for their children, or anything that they need for their house, whether it's clothing, that whole marketplace. It's so popular now. And it's a really, really good thing. And people are showing their vintage shopping hauls on places like TikTok. And it's brilliant that people are embracing this again. So because of the popularity now of wear it out, tell me in your comments below if you agree with this one. We are seeing more people using recycling centres, more people using charity shops, more people buying things from Vinted or Marketplace. And consequently, we're not seeing those seasoned buyers from places like charity shops. We're not seeing the quality of stuff we used to see in charity shops. We're also seeing in charity shops, if anything is of good quality, the prices are very high. Too high for me, I can tell you, and I'm not paying those prices. Because what we're seeing now is more and more people are selling stuff through places like Marketplace, through places like Vinted, because they know there's a market for it, because they know people want to wear it out. And there is more and more for sale all the time on those selling sites. Come on, leave me a comment below if you are seeing that, if you are seeing less stuff for free. People are always quite surprised when I say you can't get pallets for free anymore. More and more the case that those stacking pallets that you could get for free, people are selling them now. Topsoil you used to be able to get for free. You can't get that for free now. You used to be able to get a second-hand kitchen almost for free. People would have it ripped out and they would just take it to the tip. More and more now you are seeing that those second-hand kitchens that are coming out are now for sale. So people are really, really embracing that bygone frugality of wear it out. Let's get on to the whole new trend of make it do. And there's been so much cynicism about this, and it's been around heating people's houses. And old fogies have said, oh, well, in the past we didn't have central heating and so on and so forth. But we have to remember, for the last 30 or 40 years, people have had heating and they could afford it. Their houses were warm and comfortable. They turned on the hot tap and there was always hot water. This winter that we've just had has been the first winter in a generation that some people here in Europe and people as well in the UK have faced astronomical heating prices and energy prices. They haven't been able to cook their food. They haven't been able to heat their house. So what we have seen are people, and they are embracing it, and I can assure you they are showing it on places like TikTok, and they are showing it in Facebook groups, and they are doing it for the first time. It really is a return to bygone frugality. They've never done it in a generation. They are keeping their houses much cooler. And in many households here in France, in Germany, in Europe, across Europe and in the UK, this will have been the first winter in their entire lives where they have been unable to afford any heating at all. If they've put their heating on at all and they've put it on for an hour, they may have raised the temperature in their house from 10 degrees to 15 degrees if they were lucky. So, what are we seeing in the make it do? We are seeing the return to people properly wrapping up. I mean wrapping up like Scott of the Antarctic in their own home. Layers after layers of clothing, wearing gloves and scarves and hats in their homes to bed. Wrapping themselves up, keeping hot water bottles inside their clothing to keep warm. Wrapping up their children in outside clothing inside their houses. Eating food specifically to keep themselves warm. Eating porridge for lunch. Eating soup as a snack. Doing those things to keep warm. Getting a flask of water and keeping hot water to drink throughout the day to keep themselves warm. Doing things that they haven't done in a generation. Always making sure that they open and close their windows, aired the house out and then close the windows again quickly, keeping their curtains shut, keeping their blinds down, keeping their shutters shut, using less hot water, having shower timers. And there's plenty of people that I know now not heating their water all the time. Some people have an on-demand hot water system, so every time they run the hot tap, the hot water comes on. And it was dawning on them that actually the gas was running, that boiler was whirring away, and it was minute after minute after minute before any water came out of the tap that was warm. And they're suddenly gone, well, hang on a minute, I'm using that gas, it's taking me ages. And they're doing things that we always did in the past, like washing their hands in cold water. And just returning to those very old bygone things. So saving water, realising that every drop of water costs money, standing in a large bucket called a trug in the shower to save that water to flush the toilet or water the garden. These are things that a generation just haven't done, that they're embracing. They're smart people. They know how to get by when they have to. And this is bygone frugality that has made a comeback. The next part of bygone frugality that's made a huge comeback is doing without. If any of you saw social media over Christmas time, especially TikTok or places like that over Christmas time, you will have seen the trend of not indulging your children with so many gifts. And it was a really return to people saying, well, our children have had too much for too long and they really don't need this. We are seeing people really embracing not having subscription TV, not eating out, not buying takeaways. Not buying and using things in their house such as beauty subscriptions. I looked on Amazon for something the other day because I know it was cheaper on Amazon, and it nearly had me because it almost said you can have it at this price, but it was a subscription, and I veered straight away from that. And people are getting wise to this, aren't they? They are not paying for subscriptions. But there are other things that people are embracing going without. We have seen it all the way across Europe of people not using tumble dryers. Here in mainland Europe, tumble dryers are not as popular as they are in the UK. And what we have seen in the UK over this winter are people learning and embracing the fact that they can dry their clothes without a tumble dryer, that they can get their clothes out on any day it's not raining, that it's a bit windy, a bit of a breeze, and that they will blow through. We are seeing people using clothes drying racks inside their houses, hanging things in a window so it gets some daylight in the summer to dry their clothes. We're seeing people rejecting using their dishwashers and returning to washing their dishes by hand because they've worked out that water is cheaper than the electricity for their dishwashers. So people are really returning to that bygone frugality of actually there are plenty of things that we can do without. So because of that trend, because of that return to those bygone frugalities of doing without, there's lots of things that people have compromised with, haven't they? Because they're not buying these things, they're not going out and buying them. So we're returning to home baking, home cooking, people sewing, people growing food, craft, mending, DIY, home maintenance, doing it themselves. And I know before you get emotional saying, I'm 85, I can't do this anymore, please get someone to do it for you, that's cool. I'm talking about the people in their 30s and their 40s who've been up until now paying someone to cut their grass, paying someone to clean their windows, paying someone to cook their food, paying someone to deliver it. They are embracing going without that. They are embracing doing all of those things for themselves. They're line drying their clothes. They're mending things, they're swapping things, they're buying things second hand, and they are repurposing old things with great enthusiasm because they know it's their way of getting through this cost of living crisis. It's quite easy to go without. Thank you so much for watching the video, and if you've done so today, go on, hit the like button. We often get thousands of views and never as many likes, so go on, hit the like button. Thank you to all subscribers, old and new. And we know half of you watching are not subscribers. It costs you nothing to subscribe, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss any of our videos. We love all your comments and we read every single one of them. We'll see you again soon. Bye!